Hello there, we're reacting to Flame Low Reps. I'm subscribed to him on my main channel, so subscribe to him, subscribe to me, like both our shits in here. We're reacting to the NFL has a big problem. This is any player's career. So
All
let's see.
NFL games should be played on grass fields.
Yeah.
Take care of your players, man.
Can we
Are
get
they still using
rid
turf?
of mother effing field turf in football? Can we get rid of it?
There's been a big battle brewing behind the scenes for years, just one of many fights between the league and its players. These groups being at odds is really nothing new.
Ooh, what
but
the
this
hell?
time, bro, it's a literal turf war.
I feel like it's something that they should take away from the game of football. We work so hard, and if turf field is one of the things that affect us as players, I feel like that's one of the things that they should take out of the game if they really care about the protection of the players.
Out of all the NFL's 32 teams,
This is NFL stadiums with real grass. Cardinals, of course, we gotta have real grass because look at us, bro. We run a lot too. Ravens, of course, they run a lot. Bears, Cleveland, Broncos, Packers, Colts, Jaguars, Kansas, Raiders, Buccaneers, Titans. Damn, that's not that many
have played
teams.
their games on artificial turf. Since the first turf field back in 1968, the number's slowly gone up as time has gone on. After the briefest of Google searches, it's easy to see why. For NFL owners, turf's insanely convenient. It's more durable than grass, needs little to no maintenance, costs more to put in, costs less to maintain. It also allows venues to host other events without having to worry about their precious grass fields. With natural grass, you gotta always be thinking about foot traffic, which
You know what they could do? They could have real grass and then put turf over the grass when they're hosting other events, but when it's football, they remove the turf. Wouldn't that make sense? I think like turf is a layer, right? Because there's still gonna be grass under the turf, or at least dirt under the turf, right? So why not just do that?
limits your ability to host and make money. Not to mention paying to have it mowed, overseeded, watered, top dressed, fertilized, etc. But while turf is cheaper, the studies have shown that when you're playing on turf, you're more likely to get injured. Even concussions that the NFL's fighting with these have been more severe when
Like,
playing
look, it's
on
going over
this.
dirt, right? So why not make it go over grass? And for football games, take it off.
How much better grass is depends on the study. But there's not one study that say turf is safer. But there's one study out there who dares to push
It's just grass is no safer than artificial turf.
back. As the NFL
That's
says, turf's just as safe as grass. The lower body injury rates between grass and synthetic over the past few seasons has decreased to the point where it's almost non-existent right now. Non-existent right now.
Yeah, that's
Believe it or
crazy
not,
how he hurt
initially
his.
After taking his stance,
Bro,
they declined to release
just
the data
stopped.
proving their point. But recently, this chart has been making the rounds. It's from the NFL, and I'm far from convinced. First off, it only uses 4 years of data, when field turf has been in use since 2002. How do you look at this and say there's no difference? Because they almost lined up 1 out of 4 years? But it is kind of wild that since 2018, injuries on grass have caught up to the turf. So they wanted us to see these turf injuries.
Show us the rest
down,
though.
but I also see natural grass injuries going up. Why would grass injuries be rising so crazy? I clearly don't know, but I do have a theory. So since half of all the fields use artificial turf, maybe we seeing the effect spread across different surfaces. Turf is known to put way more pressure on your joints, wearing players' bodies down slowly over the season. So the injury itself might occur on grass, but it's due to the extra strain caused by turf. That's
that
a
makes
pretty
sense.
solid theory you can get from this chart. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this don't really
That actually makes sense because don't they always like switch off? Like you could play in Arizona, which has regular grass, right? And then you could go to somewhere that doesn't have regular grass, and then play on turf there. And then you get like you tweak your shit a little bit there, but then you go and play on regular grass in Baltimore, and then that's where they record your injury.
prove nothing.
I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, basically, yeah, you got it.
Hate playing on turf. The ground's harder when you hit it. More concussions happen on turf because of how the players' helmets hit the ground.
Yeah,
I
you
count every
bounce
single
off.
game preseason, how many games I got on turf, just so I can mentally prepare. I'd rather practice in sleet, snow, thunderstorm with a chance of getting struck by lightning than to run inside on the turf.
So to summarize, artificial turf lost every single quarter, but the NFL's trying to convince us it's a tie. Y'all know what time it is. Cue the Wayne.
And I'm gonna get up. I'ma go get up. I don't even know how I know that shit.
Alright, man,
Don't
real
ask me.
quick before we jump in, today's video is sponsored by
That was,
Factor.
oh wait, hold
Factor
on.
makes me in your
That was sponsored, but it's not me. So check him out.
It was actually supposed to make people more healthy. So if it was created, it's time to jump in. So artificial turf was created in the 50s. It was actually supposed to make people more healthy. So if we're going off that original idea, there might have never been a product to fail more miserably. But just because the application of your idea is bad, it doesn't mean the idea itself is worthless. But artificial turf was created for one reason: to get city kids back outside to the playgrounds. An old study showed that when compared to other kids, city kids were lacking in physical fitness. It might have been the quality of food that was available, or maybe violence in the areas forced kids to stay at home. But James Farrier and Robert T. White figured the issue was a lack of green grass to run and play on. So they made the world's first ever synthetic grass to cover the asphalt and transform city playgrounds. That's the recorded history. I don't think it's the whole story. They probably had the idea and this was a way to get funded. But if the only reason they made this was to cover the playground, those good-hearted intentions put luck on their side. So after getting funded, they successfully created a new synthetic surface and they called it chemgrass. But cities looked at the product and thought to themselves, Michael Jordan meme, they ain't care about the kids. But in the heart of Texas was a problem being born. Pretty soon, chemgrass would be the only solution. 2 years before chemgrass was even ready, construction had began on a brand new facility. The world's first multi-purpose dome sports stadium. It came to be known as the Astrodome. It was initially the home of the Houston Astros. A couple years down the line and the Oilers moved in. The Astrodome opened up with real Bermuda grass, and the ceiling had thousands of acrylic glass windows. That's how the designers would get sunlight to the grass, but all them damn windows made a bad glare. So when players would look up to try to catch a fly ball, they was blinded by the glare, like we have a design problem. So this one dude had a great idea to fix it overnight. They painted some of the windows so less light could come through.
How many people think we should scrap the P-31? There it is. Scrapped. You know why? Because you want it scrapped.
But I wouldn't really get too excited just yet, because this is one of those solutions that makes a bigger problem. Those windows serve the purpose to give sunlight to the grass, so when they painted over the windows, all the grass died. So now they got this brand new state-of-the-art stadium with a dead grass field they paint over for illusion. Meanwhile, these dudes who tried to renovate the playground got a warehouse full of the perfect solution. 2 years later, AstroTurf hit the NFL when the Astrodome also became home for the Oilers. The NFL was so proud of this new technology, they bragged even back then that turf was the future. On paper, artificial turf made sense, but it wasn't made for the human body moving at high speeds. AstroTurf was basically a thin sheet of fake grass, rolled out over concrete. Every player hated it. It could rip your damn skin off, tattoo removal deep, a frying pan when it was hot, frozen lake when it was cold. The horror stories from AstroTurf fields are terrifying, and if you ever play ball, this might keep you up tonight. The story takes place in 1993, 10 years before AstroTurf would disappear. This is Jim Harbaugh, Michigan Wolverines coach. But 30 years ago, he was the Bears quarterback. So Chicago Bears wide receiver Wendell Davis was playing a road game against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were a team that used AstroTurf, so on the road you had to play against them and the field. Wendell ran a post route and Jim threw it up, but he got hit as it released and the ball would fall short. Wendell slowed down trying to high point the ball, but the turf made a routine play into his last. The AstroTurf field didn't give like grass would, which put all of the pressure on Wendell's knees. But your knees need somewhere to dissipate that force, and when they don't have it, you can end up like this. In that one moment, he severed both of his patellas, a brutal ass injury that ended his career. Wendell didn't walk for months after the incident, and it robbed him of his dream, his career, his ambition. Thankfully, AstroTurf was gone by 2004, but it was quickly replaced with a new kind of turf. Field turf was introduced in 1988, and the versions we have now are derivatives of this. This newer field turf has been better engineered, created by a former athlete with the human body in mind.
I've played on turf before. It feels mad weird. playing on turf. I don't like it at all. Yeah, it's nah.
It absorbs and it gives, more like the real thing. But as usual, nature's still kicking man's ass. Some teams have found ways to get the best of both worlds, like State Farm Stadium, home of the Cardinals. The Cardinals only associate with genius design, like their coach's backyard or State Farm Stadium. There's a ton of dome stadiums with retractable roofs, but this one right here has retractable grass.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Do the events on the retractable grass and then have the real grass for when the football players play. Why not just do that? That's the smartest shit to do if you want to hold your events.
Players to play on the best surface. Then the grass slides outside to get sunlight. While the grass is outside getting pampered in the sun, it mourns for its cousin that played in the Astrodome. Inside, they host events on the floor and under the field. This is not brand new. It's 15 years old. Other teams have drawn inspiration from the Cardinals, but some reserve a budget for more flashy additions. With that said, it does seem like we are making progress, as one of the most infamous recently announced a change. Hopefully more stadiums will follow along. Like, it's a dangerous game, but some things can be prevented. So let's make the playing surfaces as safe as they can be to keep players on their feet and off the operating table.
Damn. Is that OBJ? He was playing on turf? I didn't know that. Because wasn't it like kind of like a no contact injury? Glad we live in a time where more people are comfortable asking why we do things and if it's good for the human body. I grew up in the Seattle's area where just about every football game, every football field is turf. In high school, I badly hyperextended my right knee in a pregame drill. The field was AstroTurf, which was nothing more than just a rug. It was hard as a rock, pouring dry and really slick when it rained. 40 years later, my right knee feels a little stiff. Yeah, bro, I played on turf before. I don't like it. It feels mad weird, bro. Arthritis. It's a bum excuse. Damn. If y'all remember this, but in 2021 Super Bowl, Steelers vs. Packers is branded in my mind. One of the biggest endorsements for never having a turf field during the game. It seemed like players were dropping like flies after landing on that field, really. That was in, what? That's what he said. Okay then. Subscribe to me, like my shit, scarf, flannel wraps. Let me know how you guys feel about this. But yeah, bye.